HARK! We are here. It is time for yet another episode of Regroup Phase, and boy, is this going to be a big one. So big, in fact, it's actually not one Regroup Phase episode, it's 4. I went on vacation. Y'all saw the video of my Mandalorian Twin Suns deck for Mandalore. That was able to go while I was gone, but as I was gone, FFG decided that's when preview season was going to start and flooded the market with a bunch of previews and spoilers that were coming out from various different content creators, as well as FFG socials and 2 FFG streams. So the way we're going to structure this out is today you're going to see the first week that I was gone, so 2 weeks ago, FFG's previews. The next video will be all the content creator previews, content producer, whatever you want to call them. Then another video is going to be the second week worth of FFG previews featuring the villainy stream. And then the fourth video is going to be the content creator previews for the second week, which is effectively last week. So lots of stuff to kind of track and do, but I have a list. I've got everything made the way it needs to be done. So we're going to get right into this with week 1's FFG previews. We're going to kick this party off with our first official leader of the main set, not including the starter leaders, obviously, since we've seen those. But this is a Vigilance leader right off the bat with a well-beloved character named Obi-Wan Kenobi, Patient Mentor. This is our common Vigilance Heroism leader. It is a Force Jedi and Republic unit. Action, exhaust this leader, heal 1 damage from a unit. That's pretty good, actually. Flips for 6 to a 4/7. This is number 003 out of 257 in TWI. Moving on to the unit, we've got our 6 cost Patient Mentor, ground leader unit, yada yada blah, 4/7. Sentinel on the unit side, which is pretty interesting. On attack, heal 1 damage from a unit. If you do, deal 1 damage to a different unit. So Obi-Wan is designed to protect and heal his allies. Leader side, you just heal 1 damage from a unit each turn. On the unit side, you get to protect your units by body blocking them, so that way they can't take the damage, but when your opponent bypasses it with Saboteur, oh well, whatever, right? But on attack, being able to heal damage from himself, if he needs to, or other units, and then deal damage, it's like a built-in It Binds All Things, which was actually probably be pretty good on this card. Build up the damage with Sentinel and throw some extra health upgrades onto them, or shields, experience tokens onto Obi-Wan, and then being able to just, every time he attacks, do those damages. Personally, to me, this leader is a little underwhelming, but it is a common leader, so that does mean that it's designed with more limited in mind than anything else. This is probably going to be a pretty good limited leader. It's going to make games last a tiny bit longer because you can heal that damage in order to prevent your opponent from being able to get the math on board to defeat you right away every single time. But we'll have to see. I imagine Obi-Wan is going to be a very heavy Force/Jedi deck, maybe potentially Vigilance and Command, being able to use things like the Force is with me and General's Blade to be able to do some extra damage, to be able to get those attacks out with big attacks with your Jedi, with your Force units, and just try to go ham from there. So Obi-Wan Kenobi, a fairly interesting leader, the first of many we will see here over the next few days. Next up, preview the day before Obi-Wan Kenobi, we have a card that I'm very excited to talk about, very excited to see. It does 2 things that I really want to see cards do in this set. So let's get right on to this Command Heroism card. Shaak Ti, Unity Wins War, Command Heroism, 4 cost ground unit, 3 power, 4 health, Force Jedi Republic traits. Each friendly token gets +1/+0 on attack, create a clone trooper token. That's 2 things. Uncommon, number 94 out of 257 in TWI. Shaak Ti is here as your 4-drop to buff your clones or battle droids if you're running limited and you have extra battle droids that are be floating around in your deck, and also generate clones on attack. So attack into your opponent's base a bunch of times, or if you're going to attack into a unit, make sure she survives so that your opponent has to do something on the crack back in order to eliminate her, and you hopefully can eliminate whatever is attacking into her. But ideally, you're going to be playing this card because you're going to give your clones +1/+0, making them 3 2s instead of 2 2s, and that's going to be fantastic. I'm hoping that we get a really solid Command Heroism leader. There's going to be a leader we're going to talk about a little bit in this video, not the full reveal because we don't have that yet as of recording, but it does bring something very interesting to the table with the things that we have seen. So we'll get to that at the end of the video. But as it stands right now, Shaak Ti, probably a 3 of in any clone deck that I'm going to be running. It's that time again. We're voting on Twitter for what to see for our new non-standard rare bases. And we've got some interesting ones so far. We're going to take a look at the one that was previewed a couple weeks ago. It's a cunning base, and our cunning base is called Petranaki Arena. You get 26 health for this base. Each leader unit you control gets +1/+0. It is a rare, number 28 out of 257 in TWI. Spoiler, the cycle of rare bases do not all have the same health, and that really annoys me. I was hoping we could just do 25 in one set, 26 in another set, another various in another set, but they decided to go full crazy, throw darts at the wall and figure out what things are going to work. So we got 26 health on this one, others on other ones, which we'll talk about later. But I like this effect because it does a couple different things. It makes your leader that much better, which sometimes leaders just need that little push. And if it's worth the 4 health of your base, it might end up winning you a game. But the other thing is that because it says each leader unit you control, this is a Twin Suns base. And I think that kind of all of these for the rare base cycle in this are going to be stylized in such a manner where they get use out of both Twin Suns and regular constructed. I don't imagine this is going to see a lot of play unless a spicy Boba 1 cunning deck wants to run this to put their Boba as a 5/7 on 5. Crazier things have happened, right? Stack this with Boba Fett's armor and you have a nigh undefeatable leader outside of just defeating it with a Ravel's Fall or whatever. But getting that out a turn before you can Ravel's Fall, there's a lot of damage that can come out of it. But this arena, pretty interesting. I'm excited to see potentially what the other ones can do. Hoping we get some cool stuff. But cunning, 26 health. On Wednesday, September 4th, FFG brought to us a live stream discussing the heroism aspect of Twilight of the Republic. We've already seen a bunch of cards already. Let's get started on some of these cards that they've previewed to us in the live stream itself. Starting with Kosik Defender, a 2-cost Vigilance Heroism ground unit, more Wookiees, 0 power, 5 health, grit. So this can end up being a 4/1 eventually. When played, heal up to 2 damage to another unit and deal that much damage to this unit. Number 44 out of 257. An uncommon in TWI. Not only is this going to be eventually a big beat stick that it can go through at 2 cost, a big attacker, you can pull damage off of one of your important units to put onto this to immediately make it a viable target to attack when it can in the next round. Or you can use something to refresh it, whatever the case may be. You're probably going to be waiting until the next round to do anything. This might even be your last round thing before initiative goes, or if your opponent has taken the initiative, you can drop the Kosik Defender, heal that thing up that they were expecting to be able to kill, and now there's 2 big targets that they're going to have to deal with at the beginning of their turn. Unless they Overwhelming Barrage you, and then you just lose your board, because that's what happens when people play Overwhelming Barrage. You just lose your board. I like this a lot. This is probably going to slot right into the Wookiee decks. I'm hoping we see a couple more Wookiees in this set to kind of give that Wookiee deck style gameplay the big push it needs to be a cool theme. It will, however, only forever be a theme, so I wouldn't read any more into competitive aspect of that. But Kosik Defender, low cost, Wookiee, 0/5. It's going to do some work in some situation or form. Nasty, absolutely nasty with Rey, but considering the fact that Rey isn't the competitive deck that a lot of people were expecting, who knows? Next up, we have another Jedi that creates tokens, but in a different way. We have here Knight of the Republic, a 6-cost Vigilance Heroism ground unit, 4 power, 7 health, Force Jedi Republic traits. You're going to see Jedi, Force, Republic, Trooper, Clone a lot. When this unit is attacked, create a Clone Trooper token. A common, number 49 out of 257 in TWI. So Knight of the Republic wants to be attacked, but you got to give it ways to be attacked. There's another card that we're going to see in one of the later videos that showcases a way to give this Sentinel without requiring too much issue. But you could also potentially, if you're running double Vigilance, stack a Protector on this card to give it Sentinel, so that way it can continue to create Clone Trooper tokens. That being said, 6 cost 4/7, not bad. A bunch of leaders flip on 4/7 for 6, a decent stat line. I don't think this will be compelling enough in the Clone Trooper deck in order to really want to do anything that adds a Sentinel to it or makes it so that your opponent has to attack it, because there's a lot of ways to circumvent things like that. Exhausting it, sending it back to the hand, just defeating it, a bunch of different things. Throwing an entrenched on it, or an imprisoned, or frozen in carbonite. Lots of different ways to being able to make this not really be attacked, not want to be attacked, or just remove it from play altogether. So it is a common. You're going to see it a lot in Sealed and Draft. But overall, I don't think that this is going to be one of those cards that shows up in the Clone Trooper theme or even competitive at all. It's just not there, and that's okay. Next up, a Coordinate clone. We have here Echo, Valiant ARC Trooper, 2 cost Command Heroism ground units, 2 power, 2 health, Republic Clone Trooper traits. Coordinate, this unit gets +2/+2. An uncommon, number 90 out of 257 in TWI. We know what Bad Batch Echo does. Now we get to see what 501st Echo does as an ARC Trooper. And realistically, he's pretty good. He's never going to be a Battlefield Marine because by himself, he's not going to be able to give that extra advantage. But a 2-2 for 2, not terrible. A 4-4 for 2 can be pretty cool. If you can layer this, that Echo comes down on the next turn, you can deploy 2 things in one action. Echo can end up doing a lot of work with that +2/+2 becoming a 4-4 and being able to either get that pressure onto your opponent's base or clear out your opponent's units before you lose the ability to use coordinate, as your opponent's going to respond to that as best they possibly can immediately. So this is probably going to be a pretty solid aggression choice. I wouldn't be surprised if this slips right into any Sabine deck that wants to run its low to the ground as it does. I don't think it replaces Battlefield Marine, but if you can ambush this in with ECL while coordinated, it's a 2-cost 4 damage event effectively as ECL bait. And you could do a lot of work with that in the overall grand scheme of the game. Next up, it's a Fleet Lieutenant, but for the Republic. We have here Republic Tactical Officer, a 2-cost Command Heroism ground unit, 1 power, 4 health, Republic clone. When played, you may attack with a Republic unit. It gets +2/+0 for this attack. A common, number 91 out of 257 in TWI. This card's good. It's just good. It costs 1 less than Fleet Lieutenant. It doesn't do as much damage, but it will survive a little bit longer, and it allows you to attack with your Republic units. It's not limited to clones. It's not limited to Jedi. It's any Republic unit. So all of that stuff, including the vehicles that you're going to be dropping down on the board with your Republic, or just your Clone Trooper tokens, making those things 4/2 if you get to attack with one of these. This is an instant 3 of in any Republic clone deck that is running Command Heroism. Any Republic deck that's running Command Heroism. You can't, that effect was so strong in set 1. It's dropped off a little bit in set 2, but this is definitely going to serve some work in those Republic decks because you're going to have a lot of strong Republic characters that you're going to want to be able to get those attacks in and get that extra damage off the board. And who knows, maybe Sabine will flip into a Republic aggression deck. I talk about Sabine a lot, but you know, she's just very strong and is the epitome of the aggressive aggro deck. Republic Tactical Officer. Pretty good. Next up, a space unit that will give you a Clone Trooper token. We have here Pelt the Supply Frigate, 5-cost Command Heroism, Space Unit, 3 power, 6 health, Republic Vehicle, Capital Ship, Coordinates, when played, create a Clone Trooper token, a common, number 95 out of 257 in TWI. I love seeing the Y-Wing bombers in the background here. Pelt the Supply Frigate, basically, if you've already got some extra Clone Trooper tokens on the board, this makes you another one. Or if you have other units that are on the board, you only need 2 because when it plays, it counts itself for the coordinate effect. But 2 other units, Pelta comes into play, you get a Clone Trooper token, and now you're banging with Clone Troopers, right? Like you just throw in more clones, more clones, more clones. This one's an interesting one because it does require other things to happen. So I don't imagine this one's going to be too popular unless the amount of Clone Trooper token creators are all so very restrictive. We know there's some other ones later on that aren't as restrictive, but they do other things. So we'll have to see exactly how it bounces out once the full set is released. And when the full set list is released, we will definitely go over this and talk about what's going to be the best use for cards for Clone Trooper strategies and Battle Droid strategies, and then Jedi and Sith and Separatist and all this other stuff. My focus is Clone Trooper tokens, and I think this can be a decent card. It just depends on what else is in the set and how well you can activate those coordinate abilities. Next up, from our FFG stream previews, we have here a card that's going to require some math. I can't do the math here. I know of the math. I'll try to give you a little bit of information as we talk about this card, so this might be a longer section of the preview video. But linked in the description below is the Force Unlimited episode 21. I don't remember what the episode was called, but I put the one with the math, where Ned goes over what the cost analysis is for aspected cards, different aspected cards, and how power and HP works in relation to leaders, epic flips, and then the cost of units. So let's get right into this and I'll explain what I mean. We have here Batch Brothers, a 3-cost aggression heroism ground unit, 2 power, 1 health, Republic Clone Trooper. When played, create a Clone Trooper token. This is a common number 144 out of 257 in TWI. You'll notice this looks very familiar. This is very similar to Battle Droid Escort. And to give you a quick recap of what that is, 3 cost villainy only ground units, has 1 power and 1 health, but when played and when defeated, you get to create a Battle Droid token. So effectively that gives you 3 separate units over 2 instances of a thing, 2 immediately and then 1 when the Battle Droid Escort is defeated, whereas Batch Brothers only gives you the Clone Trooper token when it itself is played. Now I know that Clone Trooper tokens are 2/2s and Battle Droid Troopers are 1/1s. But the thing for me is that because this is an aggression heroism unit, it should be better in pretty much all ways than the single aspect of the Battle Droid Escort. And comparing these two together, I would say every single time the Battle Droid Escort is better by themselves, specifically because it gives you another unit when it's defeated. If the Batch Brothers were either a 2/2 or also generated a token on defeat, then I really wouldn't have any complaints. I don't think making this a 2/2, matching them with the Clone Trooper token would have been that big of a deal because it's easy to take out 2 health. It's trivial to take out 1 health. A single damage board wipe ping is going to blow this guy up when realistically they shouldn't be done. And again, because this is a double aspected card, aggression and heroism, it needs that extra bump outside of just creating a 2/2 token. Check out the video that I linked in the description below. See if you agree with me. Other than that, this is a pretty cool card. I'm not sure how well aggression is going to play with the clone strategy overall. Jesse creates battle droid tokens when he comes into play, basically meaning that he wants to try to outspeed those and do more damage than those things are going to get back to you. Batch Brothers at least gives you an additional body on the board to help activate coordinate, which can happen. Hopefully it does more often than we're looking at it right now. But ultimately, overall, I think this is a good card, but not as good as it should have been. I still think this is not as good as the Battle Droid Escort. Next up, we have one of my favorite vehicles, and it's pretty cool in what it's able to do, and it's a ground unit, not a space unit that I thought it was. We have here the Low Altitude Gunship, a 6-cost aggression heroism ground unit, 6 power, 5 health, Republic vehicle transport. It has overwhelm, fantastic. When played, choose an enemy unit, deal 1 damage to it for each friendly Republic unit. This is an uncommon number 149 out of 257 in TWI. This does a lot of different things. It's a ground unit that's going to be poking at your opponent's units because it's already done its main effect when coming into play, but it'll be able to get those overwhelm attacks on future turns, or if you ECL it, because ECL is obviously the first thing everybody thinks of when something comes into play with 6 cost or less. But overwhelm serves this unit very well because it is able to get that extra damage out. The when played, though, is going to be the pretty big thing, and honestly, I feel like Akbar should have had this restriction in as well. When played, you choose a unit, deal the damage for each friendly Republic unit. It should have been Rebel unit in that arena, or actually, yeah, you could do Rebel unit in that arena, or just Rebel unit as a whole, and have the units target that thing in order to be able to deal the damage to it. So this seems to be a little bit more restrictive version of Admiral Akbar. Probably not going to see as much play, but I do think it'll be a very cool limited option. And if you're going with the Republic aggression form, this is still a very good card to play because it is able to knock out a troublesome enemy unit if you can't deal with it in any other way other than just dropping a chunk of damage on it while you have a bunch of tokens on the board. Reminder, this set is supposed to dump a bunch of tokens on the board. So as long as you're able to do that, dropping this thing 4/6 can end up doing a lot of damage to a single unit if you have those clone troopers on the board. Next up, we have the Little Droid That Could. R2-D2, full of solutions. A 2-cost cunning heroism ground unit, 2 power, 4 health, Republic droid traits. When played, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, search the top 3 cards of your deck for a card and draw it. This is an uncommon number 193 out of 257 in TWI. Stats are pretty decent. A 2/4 means he's going to last a little bit longer. Can't be taken out by a lot of the 3 power units you're going to see on the board. The ability to discard a card from your hand, something you don't need, to potentially draw something you do need from the top 3 is pretty good, but you're paying a lot of resources to do it. You're paying the 2 cost for R2, the card for R2 himself, and then the discard from the when played in order to be able to get that extra card. If you're digging for something important mid to late game, it might help you. If you're in trouble and this is your only drop for like 2 rounds, then it also might save you in being able to pull something that you need. Otherwise, I think it's just an interesting filter effect that might actually see a lot of play in Twin Suns because it is only a one of, and sometimes you might need to dig for one of your other one ofs that will be able to get you where you need to go. Ultimately, though, we'll see how this character shakes out. I don't think it's strong. I don't think it's weak. I think it's kind of there. And you know what? Kind of there is better than really bad, so we'll take it. Next up, we have Cunning's way of creating clone trooper tokens, at least one of them. We have here Creative Thinking. This is a 2-cost Cunning Heroism trick event. Exhaust a non-unique unit. Create a clone trooper token. This is a common, number 200 out of 257 in TWI. Given that this is kind of similar to Asteroid Sanctuary, you exhaust a unit and then you do something. This does the same thing, but for heroism and specifically creating clone trooper tokens. I like this a lot. I don't think it needs the restriction of non-unique, but I understand why they did it, because the idea is that you're fooling something that probably wouldn't be fooled if it were smarter or quote unquote more unique. So exhausting a battle droid token or a battle droid escort or any of the random things that show up that are not uniques, and then being able to create a clone trooper token for 2 is actually a very good trade-off, because you're doing something to your opponent's board and you're furthering your own board by creating a token. And I think this is going to be an easy 3 of in any clone trooper deck that wants to be running Cunning in the deck, in addition to whatever other aspect, probably command, that they end up building with. And as a common, you'll probably see this a lot in sealed and draft. So I think this is going to see a lot of play in those modes, because it does provide that extra boost of tempo and table advantage, whereas other cards would not necessarily do so. Next up, we have a Separatist droid creator. We have Kraken, Confederate Tactician, a 5-cost command villainy ground unit, 2 power, 5 health, Separatist droid. I'm actually surprised it isn't official. When played, create 2 battle droid tokens. On attack, give each friendly token unit +1/+1 for this phase. An uncommon, number 84 out of 257 in TWI. So much like Shaak Ti, you do get that anthem effect, but only on attack, and it does create a token, but it creates it on play. So it kind of flips the way that Shaak Ti has her abilities. Kraken has its abilities as a super tactical droid that wants to get out there and command those droid legions. I love the fact that it drops 2 battle droid tokens. So for 5 cost, you're effectively getting 4 power and 7 health on the board in 3 different units, which activates coordinate. Not that I think that the Separatists are going to get too much coordinate, but it does give you exploit fodder for the exploit things. And then if you do get the ability to attack with this, you can give all your tokens +1/+1 for the phase, which doesn't go away even if he does go away, because it's a fired effect that exists until the end of the phase. And that's pretty cool. As an uncommon, it's very viable. I think this is going to see play in any droid deck that wants to run battle droid tokens, because it's just such an easy thing to be able to do. Your opponent's not really going to be looking to get rid of this unless you flood the board with tokens. And even if they do, they're just knocking a 2/5 off the board that's already dropped its battle tokens. So is it really worth eliminating this off the board? Which the answer is yes, if you're stockpiling battle droids, but it'll just depend on how your opponent chooses to deal with it. Bombing Run. Bombing Run wipes out a board. You don't have to worry about this thing at all, ever. Kraken is here, and I think is a very fun ground unit to play in battle droid decks. Next up, we have another leader that's been very much awaited for to come. A lot of people thought that it should have been in Shadows of the Galaxy. It's in Twilight of the Republic. Regardless of the fact, he is here. Praise be. Shout out to all the people excited for Maul. It's Maul, Arrival in Darkness. Aggression, Villainy, Leader, Force, Underworld. As an action, you can exhaust your leader, attack with a unit. It gains Overwhelm for the attack. That's pretty good. That's pretty simple. He flips for 6 into a 6/6. Also pretty good. A common, number 9 out of 257 in TWI. On the flip side, 6 cost, 6/6 Force Underworld, Overwhelm, and each other friendly unit gains Overwhelm. It's huge. That is huge. You use your units to blow up your opponent's units, and then also get that extra damage into your opponent's base. So that way they have to try to do something to stem the tide, but Maul says no and just keeps slashing his lightsaber at you as he slowly and brutally murders you with Overwhelm units. I'm excited to see what all the Maul players are going to come up with this. I think this is going to be the premier aggro deck, even though it'll probably carry some bigger bombs towards the back end. First Light's going to be really good for this deck, because that extra damage that you're taking from Overwhelm, you could also then turn into the Grit to be able to throw at your opponent's units with the extra Overwhelm attacks later on. Lots of really cool things. You can run this as Aggression Command, Aggression Vigilance, and you're going to have a lot of fun with it regardless. I don't know what I'm going to build with this, but I'm probably going to try to figure something funky out with it, maybe double aggression, and figure out exactly how we can utilize this leader to the best of its capacity. But he's here, he's dope, formerly Darth, now just Lord Maul, ready to crush his opponents. Next up, we have our first legendary, and it's a big one. And given something I just noticed here, I wouldn't be surprised if the stat line that we see is very similar across a lot of the Master Jedi that we might see in Twilight of the Republic. we have Ki-Adi-Mundi, Composed and Confident, a 5-cost Vigilance, not Vigilance Heroism, just Vigilance, ground unit, 5 power, 7 health, Force Jedi Republic, Coordinate. When an opponent plays their second card each phase, you may draw 2 cards. This is a legendary, number 64 out of 257 in TWI. You'll notice it has the same stats as Mace Windu, Party Crasher, who's also a 5/7. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of the other Master Jedi as this same stat line. Potentially Luminari Unduli, Grandmaster Yoda might be a 5/7, although most people probably say he should probably be a little bit more defensive or a little bit more. A unit Obi-Wan in this set, if we get that outside of what we've seen with his leader, probably also a 5/7. It's too interesting of a stat line to leave with just 2 characters and not have it be a theme across multiple other ones. Plo Koon, not a 5/7, but still a decent card in and of itself. Ki-Adi-Mundi here, though, effectively, as long as you have 2 of the units and your opponent plays their second card, boom, you draw 2 cards, refreshes your hand, you do a lot of cool things. So you can force your opponent to try to limit their hand plays and limit their smuggling plays. They have to eliminate this first to stop you from drawing cards. And as we all know, drawing cards pretty good. Ki-Adi-Mundi, I think, is going to be a very interesting Jedi to play in Vigilance decks. And because he is not Heroism, you might even see these in some villainy decks. The last thing we're going to go over here in this specific video, there'll be more to come later, trust me, is some art assets we've seen for the booster packs and the pre-release kits. We've gleaned some information about this. We'll talk a little bit about a couple of specific things, but we know 3 additional leaders as part of the set. We know what we're going to get as part of our pre-release kits, and we know a couple of extra cards, including one of the other leaders that are going to be in the standard set itself. So starting off, we've got the look of our booster packs. So we know our leaders. I say no, it's precedent has specifically set that the covers of the booster packs themselves do feature the leaders. So we have Commander Cody, we have Ventress, and we have Yoda. So that's a pretty interesting combination of characters here to have leaders. Cody can kind of speculate this might be a Vigilance leader, specifically because we know another leader is going to be Command later on. We'll talk about that. No idea what Yoda is going to be. Not Command. And we know this because of something I'll talk about later. Ventress could be aggression, but also could be cunning. It'll be interesting to see exactly how she ends up being for the type of character that she is. Lots of speculation there. So next we have the booster box art here, which has a couple of other different things here. Shaak Ti, which we've seen already. We've got a For the Republic unit. We have Saw Gerrera unit. We have some type of sniper unit. We have that Savage Press and Darth Maul art we've seen before. And then Dathomiri Witch card information here. Pretty cool. Lots of cool stuff that's associated there. Last thing here is the contents of the pre-release kit. So we know we're going to be getting the hyperspace variants of the Ahsoka Tano and General Grievous cards, much like we did with the Gideon and Mando in the pre-release ones. So we'll have access to the hyperspace cards, hyperfoil even, right off the bat. Kit Fisto art here, pretty interesting. I don't think we've seen that before. We've got a Roger upgrade here for 1 cost up to Vigilance, but the big one for me specifically, this is Captain Rex here on the side. We'll even try to zoom in a little bit. 5 leader flip. You can see it says leader unit right here. 5 cost leader flip, command heroism, and a 6 health. Rex is one of our command leaders. Spoilers for a future video. Padme Amidala is the command common heroism leader, which means Rex is the command heroism rare leader, which means Yoda and Cody cannot be the command heroism leaders. So that's why that speculation kind of works out there, given things that are still being recorded but haven't necessarily been published by me as of yet. You'll see other people talking about it around here, but I'm super excited for this leader. 5 flip, 6 health, hoping for attack, hoping that does stuff with clones, specifically clone trooper. I mean, clones in general will be nice, but if it limits it to specifically the tokens, I'm fine. Just give me an anthem, give me a generator. I'll be a happy camper playing my clone decks until until they get rotated, right? So very fun stuff there. Lots of cool different things. 6 booster packs, 2 pre-release promo cards. The same thing that we've seen. So there you go. Pretty fun things coming for Twilight of the Republic. So there you have it. A lot of previews to go through from FFG. We're going to have even more in the next video from the creators for the same week period of previews, spoilers, whatever you want to call them. So lots of fun stuff, lots of cool things. A few concerns that I'm having about what's going on with some stuff, but we'll address this in the final video when it covers all the previews for the last 2 weeks that I've covered. So make sure you keep your eyes and ears out for the next videos that are coming out. I'm hoping to have these done Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday with a special video in between on Friday. Ooh. Anyway, thank you for joining me, everybody. Appreciate each and every one of you. Be sure to check out the next videos that are coming out and all my previous videos if you could. That would be fantastic. Like and comment on this video. Let me know what your favorite preview was. Subscribe to this Star Wars Unlimited YouTube channel for all of your Star Wars Unlimited needs. And we'll see you in the next one, which is coming very soon. And I will see you in the stars.